do you go about sampling? We're going to go through some iterations. They're relatively simplistic and they're manual, and you'll probably end up using a computer to do this, but I want to go through this exercise so you can see the different methodologies you get to choose if you do use a software application, like most of us do nowadays. So how do you sample? Here's random sampling. You just sit down, and this is the dartboard aspect, and you just toss out the darts wherever they land. You can do a random sampling on your phone or any software program that you have, and just do random for your population that you have. Another way of doing this, you go through and say, okay, here we go. I'm going to random sample over here. Let's see, 20, 40, 29, and you make up the numbers as you go. And you don't want to repeat them. You want to keep them totally separate in the methodology that you're doing it. So it depends what you're going to do. Here's an example. The researcher picks the first subject, and then every nth subject on that list. And it could be the 13 subjects. You go 13 more people down, so it's number 14, add number 1, so then you have number 28. You want to skip 13 people each time, and so you have that way of doing it. They call that the nth subject. So but when you choose the nth, it just depends which sample you're working on. So it could be that way of doing it, or random, just whatever, a dartboard aspect of it. Your results, you want to be representative of the population. So sometimes you want to sit down and have a more systemic sample, like it's a progression. So you start a number, integer less than the total population, and then you have an interval, and you pick another one that serves as your difference between them. So over here, same book, we go through, number 8. We chose number 8. And now, look at that, we're choosing 28. Okay, and now we're going to choose 48. So you're jumping every 20 numbers. It's a good way of doing that. Or you have a stratified sampling. The researcher divides the entire population into different groups. They take their colors, their crayons out from 3rd grade, and they color the sheet, and they have 1 yellow, 1 peach, and 1 blue. And then you sit down there, and they have their magic crayon, and they throw their magic crayon that has a point on the end of it into each section over there, and they make a decision on a random thing, but based upon the stratified aspect as to how you chose those 3 different groups. That way you're taking your random sampling, you're becoming more specific. I want to have this population here, this population here, and this population here. You're going to have a different type of population, but you're getting equal numbers, in this case, 5 from each one of the 3 groups that you broke them into. That's a really good way of doing it. And that way you're having some uniformity of your demography or the demographics of 3 different subgroups within your overall group. So the subpopulation, you can identify who they are. You can sit down and look at them. You can classify them by whatever characteristics you want, but it really improves the overall aspect of trying to be closer to the population, because the population isn't what we call homogeneous or all the same. Okay, the population is different, even if they all come from the same state, even the same county. You're going to have dramatic differences in the counties. In our case, California, we have gigantic counties. You go to other states, you'll have much smaller counties, or maybe physically large geographic counties, but a teeny tiny population. You take Orange County, California, or Los Angeles, California, and compare that to a county in Wyoming where there's less than 1 person per square mile. You're going to have a whole different sampling methodology as you go through trying to sit down and subdivide it. So pay attention to who your population is that you're sampling and how you go about having it. Cluster sampling. Get a group of units close to each other. They're crowded together in the same area neighborhood. Look at this one. Okay, there's so much going on over here. You want to have your different sections, and you just randomly go. You grab clusters and you sample the clusters when you're out there. So it depends how you want to do it. You can sit down and have cluster sampling if you choose to do that. Stratified sampling, which frankly I think is one of the smartest ways of doing it. It has some intelligence behind randomizing the whole thing. Systemic sampling or random sampling. Each one has its own way, its own tool, but you get to decide that as a researcher when you're doing your sampling in the process. But make sure you know all 4 that are out there, maybe not by name when you leave this class, but know that there's different methodologies how to sample and be able to answer the questions if somebody asks you, or better yet, if you're asking somebody to research for you, make certain that you understand how they're doing it and ask the intelligent questions because you've already had this course. Take care.